Welcome to the Big Week in Gaming podcast. And what do you know? It's been a big week in gaming. I'm integot for episode 68 for Sunday, the 16th of January, 2022. This week, we'll be discussing the new details and specs revealed for the PlayStation VR2, a review of the latest Kemco drop, Sword of Elpisia, and our impressions of the PC version of Monster Hunter Rise.
Shut up! Big Wig's on the radio! Shut up! It's Gaming Focused Audio!
As always, I'm joined by Swinny.
Hello there.
And who's missing, Swinny?
Unfortunately, Mike. The main man, Mike.
We're promised this DK2 and Mike leading this piece. He has had so much time to play this game now, so I'm sure he's going to come back defeated. King K. Rule 100%ed the game.
He's got all the DK coins. He's
102%,
opened up
right?
whatever the Lost World, if it's called that one in this one. I'm sure it is. He's 100%ed everything in that game, I'm sure.
I'm sure. I think his disappearance is all due so that he doesn't need to beat that game. Because he can't beat it. It's too difficult for his skill set.
Honestly, it is a tough game, DKC2.
It is a tough game. So yes, unfortunately, listeners, viewers, Mike is away. We're very sad about that. Our best wishes. He's not dead yet. I mean, that will age very poorly if he does die.
It was so easy just to not mention anything about that, you know.
Yes, we do we wish him well. I'm sure he's actually like on the stream going, these bastards don't even care about me.
Rest up, Mike.
As always, if you enjoy that kind of rambling, jump on bigwigpod.com and follow us on whatever social media platform you like. Follow, subscribe, do all that cool stuff. And the hype man, Swinny, what do you want to hype up this week?
Oh, the only hype I've got is that one day we'll actually do that Kong Country 2 feature. Because the unfortunate part is not only that feature, but also the following one, which is Yoshi's Island, are the two that Mike's leading because it's his first time playing through those games.
Yeah.
Whereas we have grown up with those games.
Yeah.
So, and in the case of Donkey Kong Country 2, we've done like an hour-long special on it. We haven't done that for Yoshi's Island, so we could definitely sub in for that if, for some reason. But it's kind of like we're waiting on Donkey Kong Country 2 before we get to the other three games in our Game of Some Other Year list, which after that will be Chrono Trigger and then Earthbound.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because we could definitely just cover Yoshi's Island, but I'm actually keen to see Mike talk about it just because he's fresh on DKC 2 and Yoshi's Island. And I feel like those games are so close in terms of, they're very different, but just seminal platforming games that his view on them, which I think privately we sort of know, is quite interesting to me to tease out. So yes, we will wait another week. Hopefully he'll be okay next week.
Hopefully.
We might need to bring in Joe Jives or something onto the show and get rid of Mike. I mean,
Maybe.
Hospitalizations caused the person to join the show. Maybe near hospitalizations caused people to leave the show.
As soon as you said that, Joe Jives is out buying like a digital camera and Elgato Cam Link or whatever the hell
Exactly. And you're getting a lot of love for your Kemco tier list, which is very good.
Yeah, it's strange. It's strange how many people are out there like me that actually enjoy playing these games. It's kind of crazy. You go onto like Kemco's YouTube channel and they don't get a lot of views on their trailers and stuff. But when they release stuff, there's like a small but absolutely loving community of Kemco enthusiasts out there.
There are dozens of us.
I would say there are hundreds. But
fair.
Maybe not thousands. Maybe not thousands. Hundreds.
It was funny when that guy or girl replied on the video straight away, was like, this is what I was waiting for, someone to do like a Kemco RPG tier list. I was like, that's so
We gotcha.
awesome.
We gotcha. There we go.
And then someone else going, how many hours did you play in these games? Which I think you did kind of cover to some degree, right? I think you sort of said a ballpark hours. Or maybe you said us privately. I can't remember.
Well, generally looking 20, 25 hours on average, but then there's some games that are definitely more. So times that by 36, that gets your number there.
Yeah, so it's about 1,000 or something.
Yeah.
1,000
hours. But we will be talking about the latest Kemco game soon. So in our review feature later.
Yes.
So.
And do you have a question of the week? You can do the question of the week this week.
what's a question of the week when there's only two people like to answer it? That's not a question of the week. That's just a conversation. You put me on the spot. I'm not like Mike. I can't come up with a question out of nowhere. You know me. You know how prepared I come to these shows.
So am I.
I cannot do things on the fly. I am just horrible. Like I need stuff written down in like notepad, like written ahead of time. So
I wanted to test the waters just because
No.
Mike is very funny on the fly. Like comes up, but then probably doesn't refine or prepare further than that. So very on the fly.
that reminds me actually. Back in like early uni days, there was someone was putting together like a video game show. I don't know. It was kind of before the YouTube days, so it was more like it would probably be on channel 31. Was it channel 31 or whatever?
You mean at the uni? Like
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so it would have been channel 31 in Melbourne. Yeah.
Yeah, so they were putting together, and so they're having like and I'm like, oh,
That's
look,
pretty cool.
I'll try out and everything. And I was in there, I was getting interviewed by the guy that was heading it up, or one of them, and he was obviously looking for, and rightfully so, like the right kind of person for the show that was quick off the take, that could like come up with funny stuff, and that's not me generally speaking. And so he's talking to me, he's interviewing,
Awesome.
and he goes, what would I do if he said to me, this part of it, what would you do if I insulted your mother, right? And
Okay.
I'm like, that was the most random thing. And then he goes, I just insulted your mum. What are you going to say? And I'm like, I nothing. I'm like, I don't know. And I'm like, but the thing is, right, like a funny person that's witty and quick would have come back to that. Clearly that's not me. I wasn't right for it. I was not destined for that show if it ever got off the ground. But that just brought back some horrible memories there. So that was very embarrassing.
Funny. That's so funny. I hate those kind of things. I hate, where I work, we constantly have, and this is probably one of the benefits of COVID, that we haven't had as many in-person things where they do the awkward games or icebreakers. And there's ones that are kind of funny. The best one that I've seen that's good is, have you ever done this where you play rock, scissors, paper? And when you lose, you have to go behind the person that you lost against and call their name. So it's like, Swinny, 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 Swinny. And then you go beat someone else. And then everyone that they've beaten becomes a part of your chain. And then you just got like the whole room going, Swinny, Swinny. And then the other one's like, Mike, Mike, Mike. And
that's actually pretty funny.
It sounds dumb, but I've run it a couple of times and it amps people up, man. People are laughing and just like, this is some dopey shit. But that's a good one. The ones that are horrible are like, each person stand up and say something that everyone doesn't know about you. I'm like, I know. That. And I end up just saying, oh, I do a podcast or I do something. And then I'm like, I wish I never said that because it's horrible.
I know. It's like to be able to go, I think, I've done a whole podcast series on the Ferals, the obscure Australian TV show. Or the funny thing is like, not the funny thing, the better version is where they get like everyone to write something on paper and then
you have to match
someone calls it out and then everyone has to guess who it is, which can be embarrassing, especially if like no one ever guesses you because then you just nothing. But I put like loves progressive death metal on there. And I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah.
See, I would do something like, I have at one time known every lyric to Les Miserables, the musical, right?
You should have said known every lyric to Slayer Raining Blood.
Probably both. But I just think it's like, something like that will throw people off big time, where they're just like, oh, I don't see that fat bastard liking Les Mis. They'll pick all the chicks or the gay guys or something like that. So anyway, hey, we're just like calling, I can't believe like Mike's not on the show and we've gone totally off
Look,
the reservation.
it's a pretty light show in terms of things that are scheduled in.
True,
so it is what it is.
That's true.
What it is.
That's true. All right, we'll jump into what we've been playing this week. I've been playing a bunch of the games of some of the year 1995. So DKC 2. I've actually played that on the Analog Pocket and
cool.
Yoshi's Island as well.
Oh, so you're playing the Game Boy Advance version of DKC?
Yeah, I was just trying them out. And they're really cool, man. Like, I can imagine, it's weird for us because we grew up with the SNES version of those games. And I can imagine there's people who are like, what is it? Like about 8 years younger than us, 5 10, anywhere from 5 to 10 years younger, who grew up with the Game Boy Advance, because a lot of kids did, and that's probably their version of those games, and they're very good versions. Like I think the Yoshi's Island version's a bit better than the DKC2 version.
I like that version. I haven't played Donkey Kong Country 2 on Game Boy Advance, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's a little bit like, what the biggest thing to me is? It's like the music is so good on the SNES. Like they took such good advantage. We've covered it many times. We'll cover it again shortly. And yeah, like that kind of stands out a little bit more. Also, yeah, Chrono Trigger, I've been playing that. I've set up my analog Super NT in my bedroom now. So it's like I can play that late at night, like wirelessly, and same as Earthbound. I actually started Earthbound. I didn't intend to, but I started playing it. It's quite fun as well. So outside of that, we'll talk about that next week, like DKC2. Monster Hunter Rise, we'll come back to you. Thanks to Capcom for providing us the code for that one. So on PC, we have reviewed it previously on Switch. And then just, playing heaps of analog stuff. So Analog Pocket, Game Boy Advance stuff, mostly Game Boy stuff. So Mania, Revenge of the Gator, like finally got a patch. I don't have the cartridge anymore. I do want to pick it up. That is, like, it's still my favorite pinball game on the Game Boy. I was playing a bunch of them. And then I started playing Revenge of the Gator, and I'm like, this is just such a good pinball game. Like, I don't know why. It's just really good. Like, I don't know what makes a good pinball game.
I think Revenge of the Gator to us is what Pokemon pinball is to a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure.
I think the Kirby's pinball one as well. Yeah. Just something about Revenge of the Gator is just fun, and I'm not a huge pinball person, although I enjoy it whenever I play it, but there's just something about that game it almost doesn't feel like a pinball game at times, even though it literally is a pinball game.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't feel like it when you're playing it.
It feels very well designed, where it's very forgiving and not brutal. And I guess maybe like people who love pinball stuff probably prefer it like to being a bit more brutal. But I think it's a very forgiving game. Whereas I've tried the Kirby ones and Pokemon. I didn't grow up with them, but they didn't click as much. And other games like Mario's Picross, which I've played many times before, but I've never actually played it on like a physical sort of Game Boy type setup. It's always been on like computer and stuff like that. It's so good. Like Picross is one of my favorite puzzle games, if not my favorite puzzle game.
It's weird on that version. I don't know if you've got the B-roll for it, but it's like you actually looks like you're chipping the blocks out of the actual thing.
It is.
And whereas later Picross games, they kind of got away from that aesthetic. I can't remember if Mario's Super Picross or whatever it was has that as well, but it just feels more like you actually, you can see he's, I guess, like an archaeologist where he's actually chipping it out. So it actually there's like depth to it. I really, really like that. So
yeah, it's the archaeologist Mario. So if you're watching the YouTube or the Twitch stream, you'll see the B-roll. That is actually, that outfit, that suit, is the suit from Mario Odyssey. That's the origin of it. So, like, people kind of look at it as, like, the safari suit, but it's really, like, more like an archaeologist suit. I look like... It's funny, because Picross, you go, what could you innovate? I do think, like, the whole testing and, so with Picross, without going crazy and explaining the whole thing, it's very simple. You basically just either chip away at a piece so you think that there is something there, or there's definitely not something there. But on the later versions from Jupiter, is that the right? That's the company that makes it, right? I've seen their logo like 100 times, but I always forget what their name is.
I can't remember. Did they make the Nintendo DS ones as well?
Yeah, pretty much all of them, right? That they allow you to put a guess tile down, and I find, like, I wish they allowed you to do more. Like, I want to go like guess tiles, guess flags, guess, like I want them to expand the whole guess system, because there's sometimes where I'm like, man, like I'm kind of stuck here. I just need to kind of guess and work it through, but obviously this version doesn't allow that, but it's still very good. I'm like the easy puzzles are way too easy, like ridiculous. Like I'm solving them in like 6 seconds, just like one after the other. It's like, oh my God, this is like kind of ridiculous. I remember how easy it was before, but I'll just have to skip ahead. But
well, I mean, they've got to start somewhere, and you got to think you've got to get kids into it as well. Whereas I don't know if kids are playing the Picross games these days. But I think back then, obviously, Nintendo was a lot more targeted towards a younger audience than they are these days. So they definitely would have obviously had to introduce it.
Yeah, definitely.
Because what they're called nonograms, I think is like the...
Yeah, nonogram. Yeah, it's the style
Yeah.
of puzzle. Yeah.
Like I'm curious to know like where that style of puzzle originated from, because you know it wasn't here. Like surely it's been around before this.
Almost 100% sure it's Japan, and that's also like a bit of the the kind of style of name that it has. Yeah, no, I'm interested as well to kind of go like, where did the first nonogram come from and why and all this other kind of stuff. Yeah, 87 in Tokyo. So yeah,
Wow.
that's what it's
So-
like from.
So not that long before this, actually.
Yeah, no, it's true. Actually, yeah, that's true. Yeah, because like, yeah, that game was like only. It's funny how they've copied it, like, because all the stuff that Nintendo copies and doesn't copy, it's actually a relatively new game, really. Like 87 is pretty recent.
Well, some people know it by paint by numbers, which I just don't think sounds that good. So.
Well, because that's the new like app version of it, right?
Well, that term has been around for ages, like since the early 2000s, because I remember finding free browser versions that were called paint by numbers.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I love Picross so much. I think it's an awesome game. Like, if you haven't tried it, definitely, I'd recommend picking up any of the Switch ones or just playing it online. It's really awesome. But I do want to highlight the game that I've been playing the most on the Pocket, which is Mario Golf. And man, this game is just so freaking good. So this
I
Game
love
Boy
it.
Color, it's just like in if you want to play a modern version of this, just go grab Golf Story by the Queensland, so Australian studio. It's like bloody awesome, this game. Like it is so addictive. I was just like, oh, I'm gonna play a little bit just to remind myself of the game, and I was like, oh, I gotta beat this, I gotta get to the links course, I gotta level up, and it's kind of embarrassing that the latest version of Mario Golf, which I'd be interested in playing, kind of feels like has less features than this game does, and the style as well.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, what was it? I think it's the 3DS Mario Golf. Like, I remember playing that, which I guess you could see is like the middle way between like the Game Boy Color, just in terms of time and the amount of releases that have been since, that like slots in the middle, and I'm just like, there's next to nothing in this game.
Yeah,
And I knew that ahead of time. I bought it for cheap, but I mean, Camelot are known for like the Golden Sun games, and as well as obviously the Mario Golf and Mario Tennis. But it's just something about those Game Boy Color games, Mario Golf and Mario Tennis. It's just something special about them that as you said, like I kind of wish they went more in that direction rather than away from it. Because I mean, I'm sure it sold pretty well and it was critically acclaimed and people seem to love it. So it's just weird to me they went away from that.
yeah, like because Nintendo really doesn't like the experience stuff or RPG elements. Like it feels like every other studio, every other game is pushing into RPG elements for everything. And Nintendo seems to be the complete opposite. It's like they're trying to figure out ways to remove as many RPG elements from games as possible. Even ones that have had it. They're like, how do we get rid of these bloody RPG elements?
And it's also the reason why I penned Camelot alongside Intelligent Systems for my That's One Sexy Pitch to make the F-Zero Saga game, just because Camelot do such great work melding other genres that aren't RPGs with RPG mechanics. So,
And I just want to give a shout out. So yeah, I forgot their name for a second. Sidebar Games. So Australian developer. They're the ones who did Golf Story. Definitely check that out. It's well worth the price, whatever it is. But you can go grab it on the sale. It does go on sale every now and then. Hopefully they'll have Sports Story this year. I'm totally getting that. I've got Golf Story as well. Going back to what you're saying, like I would love if these guys got their hands on like the next Mario Golf. Like just make it 2D. You know what I mean? Like it would be freaking insane.
I think they still make them. I think so.
I think you're right. I just don't like the new versions.
Oh,
like,
yeah, no, but I think they are still the ones making them.
Yeah.
So...
I mean, why can't you make a 2D version and a 3D version? You know what I mean? Like, why can't you have the two series going? I mean, Mario does it. Like, you have your 2D Marios and then you got your 3D Marios, and they seem to be fine with having that set up. So
yeah, it seems like Camelot have made all of them pretty much since the Game Boy Color. So it's not. I don't think it's them. I think it's probably just Nintendo wanted a different direction. I imagine.
it's true. It's probably their notes on it.
Because Camelot, like they started with the Shining Force games. RPG, their Sure, it may not be the same people there that were
Yeah.
in the 90s, but they're obviously, their backbone is RPGs. So
Yeah,
anyway,
they wouldn't be the driver of it. Yeah, that's right.
I may or may not be playing a golf RPG in the next couple of weeks. Well, actually, I will be playing it. Why I say may not.
Is that
will
because
be playing
Kemco
golf.
is releasing that golf RPG?
Correct.
Fucking hell. I saw that on the list. I'm like, oh god, because there's like 1 and
Correct.
2, right? I can't believe I know some of this stuff now. It's scary to me.
We will. I'll mention it when I talk about the other game. Later,
Okay.
So.
Well, it's over to you. What have you been playing this week? Or the last 2 weeks, I guess.
Well, yeah, a lot of games. A lot of games in these last 2 weeks. So I have been playing Earthbound. So it's been my first. Actually, you know what? Sorry. Before I get to Earthbound, there's something I forgot. That was really important to me waiting like 2 weeks to talk about, which is my gaming resolutions. I need to make some adjustments. It's like I've been waiting 2 weeks for this. So I'm like,
wait. Make some
before-
adjustments?
yes.
Hang on. Hold the phone. Wait, what do you
Before-
mean adjustments?
Sorry for starting off. I was about to talk about Earthbound because I'm like, well, I might as well talk about all the games rather than. So with my, I realized like almost immediately after the show we did, and like we did the Kemco RPG tier list last week, so it wasn't like the right place to bring it up.
Yep.
I just need to make some adjustments. So
Oh, this is controversial, Swinny. This is this is unacceptable.
to one of them that I kind of rushed and didn't think ahead about it as well, and kind of forgot some specific things. So, which is the Game Pass resolution? Oh, you actually bring it up, nice. So, to try out every game on Game Pass, right?
Yes.
And I'm like,
so
oh, that's
I'm holding you to that. This is going to be a fail if you don't do this.
no, I'm making some adjustments now. So it's my resolution. I can change whatever I want.
No, you
so-
can't. These have been resolved.
Anyway,
That's what a resolution is. It's resolved.
Anyway, so the couple of things I want to clarify is, and I'm only playing games I haven't played before. I forgot to even mention that last time. If a game, for instance, Mass Effect Legendary Edition, right? I've already playing that game. I'm not just going to play it just to mark it off, right? Or if it adds a game I've completed or whatever I've played before, I'm not just playing just to mark off some stupid thing.
New
right?
games.
Yeah, a game I haven't played
Try
before,
out every
right?
new game. Mike, you're in the chat. Can you confirm this?
No,
I think
no,
you need to
no,
have the
no,
two
there's
of the
no-
three people.
No,
to-
there's no like this is my resolution.
Mike,
So
I'm not.
anyway.
I'm going to lock this sheet down so you can't edit it.
all right, so
Mike,
that's
give your answer. Do you accept his change of resolution? He says hello. He literally wrote hello in the chat.
Anyway. So the second thing I need to change, I forgot about EA, right? I forgot that EA is bundled into all that crap if you've got Game Pass Ultimate.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to change about that is that I'm not going to play EA Sports games.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's
I'm not going to do that. The whole, it breaks the whole intent behind this resolution. The same with the new games thing is like, I want to experience new games, but I have absolutely no interest in the latest version of NHL or Madden that they add in and you happen to have access because it's EA Play or whatever, right?
I get that you wouldn't do the EA Play stuff. Well,
No, specifically,
Mike's saying won't accept it.
Nah, well, he doesn't have a say anyway.
So
So,
we have to judge you at the end of the year. So.
so that's the two things. And the other thing was the criteria. What I realized, and it was just from working through stuff this week, is that I think this is a big detriment to the whole point of this, which is the criteria to talk about every game on the show, right?
Yeah.
There's like this week, for instance, I've played so many Game Pass games, and it's just like just to fill up our show with just because I have to talk about every single game, like I realize that's not the whole reason behind the goal. That wasn't the original criteria that I had in mind. Mike suggested it. I'm like, oh yeah, whatever. So that'll just be I play the games. You know, I will talk about them on the show, but I'm not like, oh, I forgot to talk about that one bloody game that I marked off on my list. So anyway, so that's the thing. I would have talked about that last week. But I'd rather bring it up on the show rather than speak to you guys offline, just because we came up with the goals and everything.
So Mike is responding to you. I'll just send you the chat link so you can open up the chat for yourself. But I'll relay his chat. He says you need to score at least 10 goals in FIFA and cause 3,000 NHL to pass. And then he also commented that, oh yeah, blame Mike when you blame him for the fact that
because you know what would end up being. You know what would end up being? I loaded up the main menu of Madden 2023 or whatever and quit it.
No, it wouldn't.
That's literally what it would end up being.
No, it wouldn't, because you said I remember this. See, we're gonna hold you to this stuff now. So you said that you will talk about the games. You can't just go, I booted up to the menu screen and I bounced out of it.
Yeah, but no, but that's what I'm saying. Like that's what it would end up being because it's that it goes
You have
against
to
the whole.
play. You have to play with shotgun.
All right, let's. All right, integot. Let's cut the jokes. Like I'm changing those because they're my resolutions. And I realized after the show, I'm like, oh shit, all those EA sports games I do not give a flying fuck about. Like, I'm not going to do it just for some stupid criteria. The whole point of these goals is our personal goals for the year. And I feel that I really like my goals and I didn't want that one to be made horrible because of these stupid things that like I didn't think about. So
I agree. I agree with the new game thing. Like that, I feel like that's kind of implicit. Like it would be insane if you go like, hey, they've added. I'm blanking on a game that you've just finished, right? I guess it's like Dark Souls. Hey, you'd be happy to play that, but you know what I mean? Like if it's like, here's a game that you've already beaten 20 bloody times. Oh, I've just got to install it just to tick that box. That is, I accept that part of it.
It's just gonna, and talking about it, look, I will talk about 95% of the games that I'm playing, but something like the latest Madden or the latest NBA game or whatever, I don't even know if they do NBA games still.
Some of those RPGs, those NBA games.
Yeah, the thing is like it's not a benefit to anyone for me to just do something stupid just to mark it off. Like it goes against everything that I want to do these goals for. Anyway, sorry, I didn't realize that would take that long. I was just going to make the changes and that was it. All right, so Earthbound. So probably about halfway through the game, the most I've ever played of that game. So I'm looking forward to the feature when we get to that.
What is there any way that you can kind of go your vibe on it so far? I know
I'm having fun.
Yeah, no, it's like,
I
I didn't like Undertale, so I was very nervous about Earthbound. I was like, just don't click with Undertale. So I'm like, shit, I might not like Earthbound, but I'm liking Earthbound.
Yeah, I'm liking it, but I have to see how I kind of land on it, once I've completed it.
Yeah.
But it's fun so far.
Yeah, it's fun.
The Gunk, so I played through a lot more of the Gunk, but that was last week, so I'll just say that's still a really fun game. It does pick up quite a bit, but still, it's not like a trend-setting game or anything. It's just a fun game. You sit down and maybe you play through it in like 8 hours or something. So
how does it hold up against the other SteamWorld games? Because I think they're some of the best games going around.
I mean, they're just so different. Like SteamWorld 1, is a fun... Sorry, SteamWorld Dig 1.
Yeah.
I've only played Dig 1 and Dig 2, none of the other SteamWorld games. They're fun. This is much more of a crafted experience. It's not like there's no kind of, SteamWorld Dig 1, you're kind of making your own way through that world.
Yeah,
Dig 2 is more of a Metroidvania.
But if they were like a 10 out of 10, not saying that they are, but on a scale... is like the Gunk like an 8 or 9 and 11 to you?
I mean, comparatively, maybe a 7 or 8.
Okay.
But it's a fun game, especially if it's on Game Pass. You can try it out if you don't vibe within the first hour. Also played through Uncharted, the very first Uncharted.
Wait,
game.
did you finish it?
Yeah.
Oh shit!
So that's
awesome. That's
on the
crazy, dude.
On the Uncharted collection. I mean, it's about 7, 8
long.
hours.
I know it's not long for you. That's just like a half day for you, but.
So that was a lot of fun. Action set pieces are awesome. I'm not going to dive too much into it because I have the idea of maybe doing a bit of a roundup on my resolution, which is the 13 like PlayStation Pile of Shame games that I'm going to play through. And kind of do a bit of a roundup on how I felt with all of them. But I liked it enough that I've loaded up, number 2. Cause,
there you go.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Is like I didn't set myself a specific list because I'm like, well, if I don't like Uncharted 1, I'm not going to bother the others. So really good. The only thing is, as a third-person shooter and action set-piece game, it's awesome, especially for the for that period when it came out. Just the climbing mechanics are really rough for me.
Yeah. I've played a bit of the first one, and it is a bit rough at times.
It's a bit rough, especially when I'm such a huge fan of the Tomb Raider Legend trilogy, and Tomb Raider Legend came out just prior to that. Probably it would have been well into development when Legend came out, but it's like I look at that game and I look at this, and from a climbing, environmental, puzzling standpoint, but it's doing more than that. It's obviously, more action. So that's fun. All right. So quite a lot of games to talk about.
It's all good.
Dark Souls. Let's talk about some Dark Souls.
Is this just going to be a sub point that you have?
No, it's not a sub point. I'll talk a little bit about it. But so basically in the B-roll that is some clips that I played because I finally became a Onebro. I completed my New Year's resolution of completing Dark Souls at Soul Level 1. Oh
Right.
my god, such a...
Can we sit in the pocket of what you're actually saying? So this is a game that like some people like literally cannot finish. Like genuinely try their hardest and cannot finish this game. And the RPG mechanics of it are such that you can level up, get stronger, increase your stamina. So what are you trying to do here?
So basically, you have to choose. You can only choose one class. The only class which starts at level 1, which is Pyromancer. So basically, the stats you have as a starting Pyromancer is all the stats you can have the whole game. You can't level up at all. So that's what a Soul Level 1 run is. And I didn't do 100%. Some people like to do all bosses and stuff. I just wanted to complete the game. I'm like, I don't know if I'm even going to be able to do that. Didn't summon, like it was all just done myself. But honestly, summoning probably wouldn't have helped for the only thing that was really tough, honestly, in this challenge. This is such fun. Like this challenge, if someone loves Dark Souls 1, I think this is such a good thing to do. And if you know the game really well, and you're very comfortable with the bosses and their attack patterns, which comes from just obviously playing through the game multiple times, it's honestly way easier than you expect. It is way easier than anybody would expect, because the reason being, there's a lot of the equipment that you use, like you can actually use quite good equipment at those base level stats that you get. And the only massive challenge I had was Ornstein and Smo. Or Smaug.
Oh yeah, I hate those.
That's
bosses.
the only that probably took me about 30 tries, because I went the tactic of using the red tearstone ring. So for anyone, obviously most people that have probably played through Dark Souls might not remember, but red tearstone ring gives you a huge attack power buff when your health is below probably like 80% or maybe 85%. It's pretty. You've basically got a tiny little bit of health left, and you get like this red look to it. And I use that for the Ornstein and Smaug fight, which means basically you have to complete the fight without getting hit. That's the reason why it took so many tries, because you get hit, you're dead. So, but other than that hurdle, and there's a few bosses where I maybe had to try like 8 or 10 times, because honestly I was just screwing it up. Like Four Kings and Gwyn. I'm just like, this is actually, for someone that's played through the game, and considering you've actually got really good attack power with the setup, the equipment that you have, it's not as hard as people think. So that's why I actually think it's really good for people that have played through Dark Souls maybe twice, 2 or 3 times. It's probably good to have a run where you do that. If you've gone through it once and it was a while ago, it's probably going to struggle a bit, because you're not going to remember everything about the game and the attack patterns and stuff, but it's very manageable. Like I was shocked, honestly.
So we gave this a 5 out of 5 point score. So do you want to put that down? Do you want to make that a 3 or a 4?
I'm happy to make it a 4. I'm happy to knock it
what,
down.
you want to adjust it?
I'm happy to if you want to.
I'm just
honestly,
you're changing resolutions. So.
Honestly,
it's impressive, dude. It's impressive. It's impressive. I don't care what you say. It's not easy. It's not easy. I didn't say it's easy. I just said it's a lot easier than people think it will be. Yeah, like it seems impossible to me. It seems impossible. Like I barely got out of Dark Souls. I was like so happy to beat that game. I wasn't gonna let it beat me, but then I was like, I don't know if I can beat it. And then I got through. I was like, thank God I beat that damn game.
But also, like, you got to think I'm just running through areas and stuff, only getting what I need. I'm not fighting every enemy. Anyway, so that was real fun.
No, that's awesome, dude. That's super impressive.
All right, now
you have to do a no-hit run.
Fuck that. That would be impossible. Shout out to people who do the massive series versions of those. All right, so quickly, I just want to get through a trio of games that I played on Game Pass that were added in the start of January. So I actually played through this last week. First is Gorogoa, I think that's how you say it. This is a well-known game, but just came to Xbox and Game Pass. Fun, little, innovative puzzle game. If anyone doesn't know, it's kind of... The B-roll's showing off a bit of it for people watching the video version, but you got basically 4 panels, and you move the scenes around, you line things up to make puzzles where a rock might fall from one screen to another. You zoom in, zoom out, and it changes things. Really, really cool, artistic. honestly a real genius design how the game works. Sometimes you do get stuck in like, look, I just don't understand what it's wanting to do, but eventually you'll kind of brute force through most of it. But really fun. It's not a long game. It's a really nice thing you'll probably play through, and depending how well you figure it out in maybe 1 to 2 hours. So it's not super long. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I've always heard good things about this. Yeah.
Yeah, and because it's on Game Pass, you can try it out if you've got Game Pass, and you don't have to spend any money, additional money for it. So, the next game is The Pedestrian. So that's also a game that just came to Xbox and it's been out on other platforms for a while. So this is a neat little puzzle platformer where you're a little stick person going across like construction signs and chalkboards and things like that. I love the idea of this game. It looks gorgeous, and I'm not saying like I think. I would prefer if this game was a bit more of a traditional platformer, to be honest. It's fun and it's really inventive, but I think maybe I just wasn't in the mood to play what is basically almost a pure puzzle game. While it's a platformer, it's pretty much a puzzle game. So I think that I love the concept. I just wish the concept was almost like more a traditional platformer. So I don't know if I'll play through more of it. Probably played about an hour and a half or something, but it's been fun. So
it looks incredible. I remember when I'm sure it was a part of one of the early state of plays for PlayStation. Yeah. That's where we first saw it, and yeah, the art style is super awesome.
Oh,
it's just
great.
Like if you strip away all the art style and you just had the pure puzzles, I wonder how much it holds up. Sounds like it's not super clicking with you. It's like it's not super exciting.
Not super clicking, but that may also just be me. Maybe I wasn't in the mood
hit
for
you
it.
The right time. Yeah, fair enough.
And the third of the Game Pass games that that were just added is Elpisia. I think that's how I read it. Elpisia.
Yeah, that's a hard one to say. So
this is like a unique action platformer with some light Metroidvania elements. It's not really Metroidvania-ish, but it's got a visual style that reminds me a lot of Another World or Out of This World for anyone in the US, which is like the Delphine game, kind of like also like Flashback and things like that. Not exactly that way, but the simplistic features and things like that. But it plays very differently. It plays more like a traditional action platformer, but you're exploring around levels, completing like puzzles and fighting enemies and stuff. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I wouldn't say it's very remarkable though. It's not like a game didn't hook me, but I did play for quite a while, and maybe I'll go back to it. But yeah, Legia's pretty fun, and yeah, that's the third Game Pass game, of the ones that just got added in.
Nice.
But the last game, and oh my god, I've been waiting 2 weeks to talk about this. This is the game I've been wanting to most talk about, which is Y2K, postmodern RPG. And
I didn't pick up on that.
Every time I see this game, I think it's yeek. Yeek.
Yeah, that's what I always thought. Yeek.
Every time I saw it, like on True Achievements, and I'm like, it's yeek. Anyway, this is a game that was leaving Game Pass. Well, it's left now. I think it's leaving on the 15th. It is a action RPG. Oh, sorry, not action. A turn-based RPG in the vein of Paper Mario or anything like that. So obviously, I'm like, okay, I want to complete it before it leaves.
This is just to add to the end of the year when you cover all the Paper Mario style games.
Yeah, and so also a whole bunch of other people on True Achievements are playing through it. So it's funny. I got to see everyone else is playing it. I think I hate this game. Like, there's games where you dislike, and there's games where you're like, I actually hate this game.
I like how you're excited to talk about this game you hate.
Oh, because it's such. Anyway, so
postmodern, man.
This is like Earthbound if it was written by like uni philosophy majors, basically. It misses the mark so much. Like, there's elements of this game that are all right, but it just misses the mark so much in so many ways that this game was a bit of a hell to play through, honestly. This game actually got a lot of criticism when it came out. So, but actually, before I mention that, the best part about this game is its music. It's actually got really, really good music. It's got Toby Fox does a track on it from Undertale.
Oh, cool.
And also Hiroki Kikuta from, I think he composed Secret of Mana. He does music as well in this game. But this game got so much criticism that even Toby Fox removed a tweet promoting that this game was coming out.
Oh, no.
This, for a few reasons. First of all, this game references... have you ever heard of... You probably won't remember by name, but there was... there was a person by the name of Eliza Tam, and it was like she had a tragic death, and there was this video that went viral on the internet of her in an elevator. I can't remember how many years ago it was, like having a psychotic episode and freaking out, and it was in the time leading up to her death, and so people just like trying to figure out what went wrong, what happened.
Yeah.
This game not only references it literally almost recreates that by having one of your main character in an elevator gets dragged away with a bloody face by these supernatural beings, and it's like the footage in the game is shot exactly like the real life events. And oh my god, people gave this game so much shit for basically doing that. It was just poor taste.
Like you can do things like that in art, in my view, but what you're doing is you're right on a knife edge, right? And you need to elevate very much so to be able to pull it off, or else, and I also believe you can cop the fair criticism if it's shit. You know what I mean? Like you do it and it comes off as bad taste, poor taste, doesn't go off right, and you've just basically almost, sensationalized someone's death for your shitty game that no one likes. It's like, well, you got to wear that, dude, because that didn't work.
And the writing is so heavy-handed in this game that they patched in a dialogue setting when you load up the game where you can choose reduced monologues, and it's the recommended setting, which is amazing. And there's even a third option where if you beat the game once, you can make the main antagonist silent.
What?
Because he's written so poorly. Basically, the writer admitted that he wrote the main character to be a self-centered prick and make people hate him, and then was surprised when people were like, why the fuck would we care about this guy?
Yeah,
he's self-centered, he's an arsehole. Anyway, the final thing I'll say about this game was from the words from the wise scholar of the RPGs from True Achievements, Level 1 Blue Slime.
Oh, nice.
If he plays through a bad game, sometimes he leaves some gems. So
that's awesome.
He wrote about this game once he'd completed it, finished it before it left Game Pass, but at what cost? Imagine a dumpster. It's full of trash. Someone left the top flaps open. It rains heavily. The rainwater goes straight into the dumpster since the flaps are up. The rainwater flows down through all the trash and concentrated garbage water pools at the bottom of the dumpster. That is where this game was born.
Oh my god. That's so hard. Why are you all playing this shit game that you're hating, just shitting on, you idiots?
Thank you. That's my spiel over. Thank you very much.
That's very good. I like that. That is funny. Blue Slime is a real person. I like it. Blue Slime level 1, right?
Level 1 Blue Slime?
I believe it's a conglomerate. I believe it's more people. It's a group of people. It's like Satoshi Sakamura who made Bitcoin. It's not just one person, man. I don't believe it. You're the number one single person player of RPGs. All right, well, that's a stack of games that you played. Do you want to jump into the news?
Let's do it.
Beautiful. All right, so for our only news item, Sony have finally revealed more details and specs for its PlayStation VR successor, now officially confirmed as PlayStation VR 2.
What a shock.
So the news coincides with the CES 2022 a few weeks ago. Sony previously revealed this unit will be a single-core device last Feb, and then shown off the new PSVR 2 controllers a month later in March. The headset itself is yet to be revealed, but will feature new sensory features and eye tracking. So I might just zip through some of the specs that now we've had it fully confirmed, and then maybe you'll call out some of the games that are potentially or are coming to the system, or VR2, whatever you want to call it. So it is a OLED display. Each display will have a resolution of 2000 by 2040 per eye. Refresh rate is 90 hertz to 120 hertz. Adjustable lens separation, which is a big deal. 110 degrees of field of view. It does have the 6-axis motion sensing system, so a gyroscope and the accelerometer, IR proximity sensor. The 4 cameras for the headset and control tracking, so that's the inside-out tracking that the Oculus Quest 2 does, which makes you feel like you can really, see the controller in your hands. It's like a very big thing for immersion. IR camera tracking, which is going to track the eyes, and each eye, which is new, that's different to the Quest. they've been playing around with that for like about a decade, Sony, eye tracking, and finally integrating it into product. It's going to have vibration on the headset itself. Communication is going to be through the PS5 via USB Type-C, built-in microphone, and stereo headphone jack. It's still unconfirmed if you're going to be able to use it on PC. That's going to be a massive thing for me. Like, it might be the difference between me getting it or not getting it, personally. And the other one is that it seems to have a battery in it, which may make sense, I guess, if there's the vibration function. I'm a bit surprised when I saw that there's lithium batteries. Maybe it's actually, when I think about it, it's for the hand controllers, which are going to be called, what were they going to be called? The Sense controllers, I think they've called them.
I can't remember. Did they name them
They
back
named them,
last year?
announced. No, they named them just recently. Like, as part of the
Okay. I
news.
didn't see that one.
Yeah. And then did you want to talk about the games that, or the game that sort of, or
I just want
experience?
to just ask a couple of questions about
Yeah,
the
yeah, go
specs
on.
first of all. So is this the first headset that's had, or at least major headset that's had vibration in it?
Yeah, as far as I'm aware. I'm not like the VR expert that Mike is, obviously. But yeah, no, it's the only one that I'm aware of that has that vibration in it. And yeah, it's going to be Sense controllers. And the controllers will have vibration in it as well, I believe.
I'm just trying to think the headset. How is that not going to give you a headache? Like, how are they going to make that so where it's? I know obviously it will be something you turn off.
Oh, they'll make it extremely subtle, I imagine.
I'm just like, what? I'm just trying to think. Like, if you're in VR and you put a hat on, the sensation of putting a hat on or something makes sense. But I'm like, what if you get shot in the head in the game? Are they going to do something? Like, what are they going to use it for on your head?
Maybe. But like, I think it just has to be extremely subtle, and then it will like bring a lot more immersion.
But
Like,
I'm just trying to think, like, what inputs in the game world is going to, like, translate to you getting a vibration on your head?
I don't know. Look, I think it's, like, a very interesting thing. Like, I you know, the specs are really good. Like, it's funny the way it's competing against, really, the Quest 2 now. Like, Oculus's Quest 2, or Meta, I guess it's going to be called soon. The Meta Quest 2 from Facebook. But that is a full contained, self-contained unit. Like, you know, as I've said before, my wife's dad bought one, right? Like, random people are buying these units, and they're just self-contained. Like, you don't need to plug it into a PC. It's got its own marketplace, and it's all wireless. So, and it's selling for a very competitive price. I just don't know, like, I can't see this being successful, honestly. I'm excited for it personally, but I can't see it being successful.
Well, you know what Sony need to do? They need to open up the checkbook, or whatever you do these days, the equivalent in this day and age, and they need to get Resident Evil Village VR on it, because that would move the units. Just like Resident Evil 7 was huge on VR, and that's a lot of people, you know, they like Sony basically they did that. They put out the money, they put out the checkbook to get that on
it was like
PlayStation.
$5 million or something, I think.
Like, to me, it'd be crazy not to try to do the same thing if they haven't already for Capcom for that, because that's the one that will get people in.
I think if they, I don't disagree. I just think there's another game that you would do, and I think if they bundled in Half-Life Alyx as a Half-Life Alyx, here's PlayStation VR 2 all in one, and people just go, okay, cool. All I need is the PlayStation 5, by the way, which is really hard to get, and then get the VR unit. Like, that game didn't have the impact that really should have. Like, that game is it wouldn't be as crazy to say for me when I'm thinking off the top of the dome is like, it's probably one of the more important games of the last 5 years, Half-Life Alyx. But it just didn't land. Like, I'm still quite shocked, given the IP as well. Like, this is the first new Half-Life entry we've had for such a long time. And yeah, it just didn't move the needle at all. Like, let's be real. Like, no one talks about Half-Life Alyx. I never see anything on Half-Life Alyx.
Well,
that game's awesome.
The barrier to entry for that kind of VR is even way higher than PlayStation VR. So
yeah,
100%. Like, I agree, that would be huge. I'm just
kind of going off known. It'd be able to run it.
I'm just going off kind of like known commodities of the fact that 7 worked so well for them. So and the fact that they could obviously, I don't know if it would be a free update or paid, whatever. But obviously, there's a big amount of people out there who already own that. So it's like you tap into that audience.
It'd be paid. It was paid for 7. So
yeah. So. Yeah. But yeah, so they did. Yeah, they announced the first title, official known title or game, I should say, for PSVR2, built from the ground up, which is Horizon Call of the Mount, which we saw a little bit in the clip before. Don't know much beyond. I can't remember the guy from Guerrilla Games talking about it as the intro in the clip. But it's been developed by both Guerrilla Games and Firesprite, who have been in the news recently as well, who potentially taking over, well, apparently taking over the Twisted Metal remake as well. And I actually forgotten.
I'm not sure if I believe that, but yeah, I've seen that that's been a rumor going around.
Yeah, I mean, it's been reported by a lot of places, so I would trust that one myself.
So was the Switch Pro.
Yeah, the Switch Pros. That's a weird thing. That's a weird thing. But Firesprite, we kind of this went by and I've forgotten about it. They were acquired actually in last September, so it makes
Sony.
sense. Yeah, so but that's Look, one interesting thing though is Sony have been trickling out this PSVR2 information since last year. It's funny because this week everyone's like, "Oh my god, look at these controllers! Look at all these news about these controllers!" And I'm like, "This is last year." I'm fine, like whatever. People excited, but it's just interesting to see how them trickling out the information it's like led to people actually not probably potentially hearing it last year. So I mean, if you're gonna announce the name and stuff, I just want to see what the headset looks like. To be honest.
Yeah, look, I think it's smart marketing. Like, I think, they had a bit last year. They did it in a bit of a lull when there wasn't as much news around. They've done that again. Like, it's a bit of a lull. There's not much news. It's like, okay, great. We can talk about something at CES. We definitely did not know about the inside out tracking. That is like super important. Like, again, one of those features, if they didn't have it, it's a bit of a deal breaker because it's just so effective to, track your hand movement, which, really does. Like, that's just so awesome in Half-Life Alyx. Like, when you get to play it, like, eventually, which I'm sure you will, you'll find, like, the hand movement and everything, it's almost like, kind of gets into that uncanny valley a little bit, but beyond it, like, it kind of gets out of that slope. And it just feels like, wow, this is almost like I'm tripping or something. It feels like, is this real life or is it not? So I'm glad that they have that. I know a lot of people are really annoyed with the cable, single cable. I don't know. I'm always I like cables. I still have like cabled keyboard and mice. So I'm a bit of a freak in that way.
I like cables. So. Integot 2022.
That's my quote. Yeah. But I'm looking forward to this, man. Like, this is one of those things where it's like for Christmas, if you can buy one, it's like, okay, this is a cool big gift. Not something I'd like necessarily go crazy and go buy, but yeah, like I'm looking forward to seeing how it lands.
After looking at the prices for other like top line headsets, I know this is like, we'll see how they all line up when everything comes out, but just look, I'm much more likely to buy a PSVR2 than I am any other VR headset, just because of various reasons. Plus, also like the play space you need, like it just makes sense, like to be in like the living area for me.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing with VR, and I know Mike always goes on about it, and I've got another good mate who is obsessed about VR. He's actually a true VR person. Like, he will use VR every day, like every single day he will use VR. Unlike Mike, who likes to talk about it but never actually uses it.
You're just shitting on him. Poor guy. Hit him when he's down.
I'm giving him motivation to get better so he gets back on the show to slam me back. But, it's such a muck around, VR. It's such a freaking muck around. Like, got to install certain things on my computer. Got to make sure I use a certain port on my motherboard to make sure it works properly. Then connect this, test the speed. It's so many things to do. Whereas, like, there is this just very big simplicity. It's like, here's the big ass PS5. It's got the USB-C thing in the front. You plug it in and it works. Like, that's why people like consoles. Like, I like PC, and we'll talk about Monster Hunter Rise soon, but there is a simplicity that just wins the argument, and I see people doing that more. And that's actually a big thing for the Quest 2, to be fair. Like, it's all wireless and you just play it, but the fidelity of this is way better than the Quest 2 based on the specs and the PS5 that's powering it. So, yeah, I'm super looking forward to it, man. Like, I look, it's just going to be the price. That's the thing. That's the only, if it comes out and it's like $750, like, nah, sorry, man, that's too much for me. I don't know if that's too much for you, Swinny, but it's got to be like 500 and below for me.
All I know is that a lot of the other VR headsets I'm looking at are way higher than that.
Really?
So, yeah.
You're trying to do
Anyway.
this porn VR or something? What's going on here?
I want to play Half-Life Alex, just like you said I would like.
But you
to.
can get a Quest 2.
I don't. I'm
You're
not
like
buying
me with Meta,
I
right?
would not buy anything to do with Facebook.
No,
Fuck that.
Dude, I
Fuck
won't
that.
either. I refuse to. I don't care
Yeah.
about like.
When I talk about that, I'm excluding them because of that.
Okay. Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah. No. Fair enough. Like, I'm looking forward to it. Cool announcement from Sony. And that wraps up our news for the week. But as we always do, there's a whole bunch of other news that we're always excited about, and we've decided that we want to summarize it within 1 minute. So we had Mike doing it, but Mike failed, as he's prone to do. So
he had a good run. He had a good run again. Like, I'm trying to push him up, and you're trying to kick him down.
So yeah, Swinny will cover the news. 1 min for the Swin. I'm just gonna get myself ready, and we are doing a special thing where he started with 180 words, and we will ramp it up by 1 word until he fails. So we're at 183.
I'm not as confident this week. I didn't have a second read over.
Oh, so you practiced this? You're such a cheater.
No, I put it in there, and I'll just have a quick read through to make sure
Fair
it reads like it. Like, I haven't done typos or anything. I didn't do that. I just chucked it in there. So.
All right. Well, as always, I'll let you kick off, and then I'll start the timer.
Okay. Kirby in the Forgotten Land has a release date, 23rd of March 2022. Stalker 2 has unfortunately been delayed 6 months till December the 8th, 2022. Screenshots of an unannounced Armored Core sequel have leaked via From Software survey. Final Fantasy XIV will return to sale late January after being removed for being too popular. Take-Two has acquired mobile giant Zynga for $12.7 billion USD. The ESA have announced that E3 will not be running an in-person event in 2022. Valve have confirmed that the Steam Deck is on track for its planned February launch. Microsoft have confirmed that the Xbox One console production was discontinued in 2020, while Sony have extended PS4 production into 2022 and lowered targets for the PS5. Sony have also begun pulling PS Now retail cards, possibly preparing for its rumored new subscription service. Sega have opened a second Japanese development studio in Sapporo. Xbox head Phil Spencer has called for a cross-platform account ban system. Director Duncan Jones is campaigning to make a full-throttle animated movie. And finally, multiple Dog the Bounty Hunter games are currently in the works.
Oh, you got close then, dude. You got like closer than I thought you were going.
Told you I wasn't as confident this week.
Shit, man. 1 more word, then next week you're gonna the screw just tightens.
Well, then it will be up to you to do it, won't it?
No, because I host the show, so I'm excluded from this game. So go back to the original owner,
Boo.
the Minute Mike. But
So what happens? Oh no!
Go on, what?
No, I was gonna say I'll be doing it next week. I didn't fail this week. I'm like, what happens if Mike's not here next week? But I'm like, well, I'm still doing it.
You're just writing this guy's obituary right now. Jesus.
You keep bringing it in that direction. I'm not
You're
talking about
assuming he's not gonna
anything
be.
to do with
I'm assuming he's gonna be every week.
that. Multiple Dog the Bounty Hunter
that is
games. Are you hyped?
No, I thought that guy was like on the run or something. I thought he was a criminal.
Well, he was, I
Wasn't
forget her name. You know that missing persons case that like blew up
Yeah.
like the internet. He was like involved. He was trying to track her down.
Oh,
in
so
the
he's
last
still in
couple
good
of months.
standing, this guy.
I don't know. I don't think he's ever been in good standing. Dog the Bounty Hunter's reputation's probably not one I'd put my name on, but
What's the guy's name actually? Dwayne Dog.
Dwayne Dog.
That's what his name is, Dwayne. I'm pretty sure it's Dwayne Chapman. Dwayne Lee.
Yeah,
Dog
not Dwayne
Chapman.
Dog. Dwayne
Holy
Dog.
shit! In 1976, he was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to 5 years in jail. 5 years. Man,
Well-
Djokovic got more than that.
Hey, we weren't going to mention him in any part of 1 min for the Swin, unlike Joe Giles wanted us to. But
Yeah,
All
look,
right.
I'm excited about the Steam Deck thing. I'll talk about that next segment. And I'm really interested to see what Sony's doing with this PS Now stuff. Because PS Now, I don't really even... Can we get PS Now in Australia? I actually don't know.
I don't know.
How bad is that?
That's all based off like the Gaikai technology, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's like... I have to say, PS Now is one of the worst... Like, Sony does this weird thing where they sometimes make great products and they just advertise it in the worst possible way. Like, you know what reminds me of? Do you remember the PS Vita TV thing that they made?
I think so.
right? But it wasn't even called the Vita TV. It was sort of like the PlayStation TV, I think it was called, or the Sony TV.
Yeah, it's starting to.
But it
ring
was
a few
so
bells.
poorly advertised. What I didn't understand of that, I saw it in the stores, like in EB here. I would have bought it if I knew. It was literally a Vita that you could plug into the TV. I'm like, that's really cool. Like, I like that. There's heaps of really cool Vita games, and it supported a whole bunch of other stuff. But
Should have called it the Super Vita Boy.
yeah, exactly. It should have been mountable to the PS4 or something. So yeah, like the PS Now, it's actually not a bad service. You can actually download, like if they're a PS4 game, you can download it to the console and play the game. So similar to Game Pass. Yeah, it seems like, you had that report. I don't think we covered it, but from Bloomberg around, their competitor to Game Pass. So, I mean, yeah, maybe it is coming in the next few months, maybe a bit earlier than we expected. I'm interested in that. All right, well, do you want to jump into our features, Swinny?
Let's do it.
All right, beautiful. All right, so this week I'll jump back into the wild world of Monster Hunter Rise with this spiffy new PC release. So if you've bought it on Switch, is it worth getting again? That's kind of like what I'm answering here. So first off, we should say thank you to Capcom for sending us the PC code to review. And as I normally do, I sort of like to just give the headline of what I think of the game first, so then people can just jump off the video.
Don't do that.
No, but of course I will. This is just, it reminds me of how much of an awesome game Monster Hunter Rise is, and it actually makes me angry. It makes me angry that you haven't got into this game, because I need to go on hunts with you, you bastard.
So sorry, I was busy completing all my resolutions, acing them, unlike some people on this podcast.
Pretty easy to ace them if you can change them on the fly, but I'll serve that back to you.
Didn't change anything last year. Anyway, back
I
to
should have done
Monster
that. I should have gone. I've changed them all to things I've already done. But anyway, let's park this argument. Yeah, this game is just super awesome. Like the Switch game, I've played stacks of hours of it, and then playing the PC one, it's kind of like interesting because, and I put this at the bottom as a con, but it's super disappointing that you can't cross save between Switch and PC. It does seem like they tried to figure out a way to do it, and they did post on Twitter, Capcom, saying like, sorry, we, like after a lot of investigations, basically determined we couldn't do it. Whatever that means. If it seemed like maybe it was just so much of an uplift on their end, like server wise, and it sounds easy to do that functionality. It's never that easy. It's always like pretty tricky, to be fair to them, but it is disappointing, that element of it. But like simplistically, if you haven't played this game on Switch or don't have a Switch and you're more of a PC player, or as I said, you don't have a Switch, it's just such a like obvious buy if you're interested in this genre or this type of game at all. I played only a little bit of Monster Hunter World. Before that, I'd never really played any of the Monster Hunter games, but I couldn't almost imagine going back to Monster Hunter World just because the sort of movement and flexibility of this game with the wire bugs, it's sort of like, I find this with Zelda games as well. Some of them feel very like locked onto the ground if you don't have as much flexibility, versus ones that have hook shots and all this other kind of functionality. And now I always feel like going back after I played Breath of the Wild, it feels like, oh my God, I'm like really like stuck and I'm just looking at ladders and things like that. And this game's very much like this. The wire bug is just so awesome in this game. And just like going through some of the pros on the PC side, like big thing is like, it's an awesome port. Like they've actually put a lot of time and effort into this. This is not one of those console ports that you sometimes see where, they've launched it, they've done a pretty hacky job. It's actually a decent, super awesome console port of the game. So massive tick there. And sort of, like compared to Halo Infinite, to be fair, like when I started playing Halo Infinite on PC, I was like shocked that I couldn't bump it past 60 frames per second. I'm like, what the hell? Like, this is so bizarre. I'm on PC. I should be able to ramp this up. It's a first-person shooter game. They've subsequently changed some of those things. But with this game, on the other hand, I've got like my 1440p 160 hertz monitor, and I was able to run the game like pretty much at like 140 150 frames per second on the highest settings, and it looks freaking amazing. Like the game looks so awesome. I've always said, and I think I said in my review of the Switch game, like when it came out, like I think it's probably the best looking Switch game. So it's kind of an awesome thing in a weird way when you've taken like a Switch game built for the Switch, I think fundamentally, then take it to PC or other platforms because it's already optimized. So then you're just going to amp it up and it just runs like buttery smooth. And as I said, like the game's just super awesome. Like you get into these awesome game loops where, you know, you're going out in hunts, you're trying to chase certain things that you want, certain armor, certain weapons, just, you know, completing a lot of the missions. I haven't done, I have to admit, a lot of the multiplayer missions. I think I just need to, like, unfortunately, team up with some randos to get through a lot of them, because you can do that in the game, obviously. It would be good if a certain person on the podcast finally started playing the game, but, you know.
Don't put your failings upon me.
It's not my failures, your failures of not playing it.
It's your failures.
And, you know, like the biggest thing for me is like, and this is linked back to Valve saying, yep, they're pretty confident that Steam Deck is coming out this year in Feb for those who have ordered in the US. Unfortunately, Australia, we don't get to be able to order it. Man, this game would be just freaking awesome on the Steam Deck. And the fact that, you know, it would have the same save data because that's all handled by Steam. So you can, you know, play this on your PC, super powerful PC, then play it on the go or just, you know, on the couch or whatever. It is just like, it's causing me to go, shit, like, what am I going to do? Am I going to like keep playing it on the Switch, which I've already plowed in dozens of hours, or switch to the PC? Because I have to, I don't think I've said it on the show, but I've decided I'm going to get a Steam Deck. Like, I'm just being a realist and I'm like, shit, I'm going to get a Steam Deck.
I think you've made it clear that you'll be getting a Steam Deck at some point.
Oh, okay. Okay, I didn't realize
Just
that.
your enthusiasm, I think, proves that.
Yeah, look, I think the thing with the Pocket, picking up the analog Pocket, is I realized I'm more of a handheld gamer than a console gamer. Like, out of all gaming, like, handheld has always been my bread and butter. I've played so many DS games, so many Game Boy Advance games, 3DS games, all that kind of stuff. You know, going back to Game Boy, I think I've always just preferred the format because it's just, like, so easy to play. So, yeah, like, I'm super pumped about the Steam Deck. Hopefully it gets announced in Australia shortly. And I think, yeah, I'll be picking that up. And then that will really, I guess it just totally depends if I get through more of it, or maybe I can get the DLC on PC or something. So maybe get the DLC on PC and finish the main game on the Switch. I don't know. It's a shame that you can't transfer the save.
Just scorched earth, just start on PC.
Start again.
Try
maybe
some different weapon types, you know, like, to me, that's the benefit of being forced to start over with that kind of game. It's like, I've been, you know, when I play through World, I just got so comfortable with like 2 weapon types. But it's like, there's like so many different things that are completely different that it's like, it's a good chance to try new things.
Yeah. And just like, you know, like so many, you know, pros to this game. Again, I don't know why I care about this stuff, but it pisses me off when you install like, you know, a Warzone or something like that. It takes 100 gigabytes or 200 gigabytes on your hard drive. This game, because it's been optimized for the Switch, it only takes like 20 gigs on your hard drive. And I don't know, I just really appreciate stuff like that.
I do too.
Yeah. Like negatives, I covered like one of them before, which is like the cross save. It's just more of like, I don't know. I think I'm much more understanding of why they can't do that than I think a lot of other people are. I imagine there's a lot of engineering work to go into that stuff. And I always appreciate when devs do that. You know, the in-game cutscenes are all in 30 frames a second. And by the way, the reason why I know that is because I've been switching back and forth between the Switch version and the PC version. I didn't realize the Switch version is 30 frames a second. It just feels very solid. Like, it's one of those games that's like a solid 30. And I always argue, like, a solid 30 I'll take over a very fluctuating 30 to 60. Like, honestly, like, I feel like it's just easier to play something that doesn't skip or jump or have dives and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird one. You won't really notice it, but yeah, the cutscenes are all 30 frames a second. The thing that shits me the most, though, and it's like the easiest fix, is why the hell do all these freaking PC games assume that you have an Xbox controller? They're always wired to have like the Xbox layout of like A at the bottom, B in the right, X on the left, and Y on the top, like in the face buttons, and it shits me, man.
Well, up until maybe the last couple of years, like that was the standard. So I 100% think it's ridiculous, and it's something that surely they'll patch out. They'll patch in, I should say. But I think they're probably just stuck in that mode still. But it's inexcusable.
It's
like,
lazy. It's totally lazy. So I mean, like I'm only familiar with things like Game Maker Studio, and that has it by default. You can just it detects, and it's not like I'm talking about very esoteric like controller scheme, like the using a DualShock or a DualSense or whatever. I think it's somewhere in the order of about a quarter of PC players use that as their controller. So it's not like a small group of people who, and it honestly does like throw me off. Like I'm like, I see it because I'm not an Xbox player. So I'm mostly Switch and like PlayStation. So when it says press Y, I'll literally press the Nintendo version of where Y is. I'm like, what the and I've like consumed an item or something like that. And I'm like, oh, why does this show me the wrong thing all the time? It's so bad that I'm like, should I just go and damn get like a Elite controller or something? Like, it's pissing me off so much. But look, I honestly don't have much bad to say about this game. I love it. Yeah, if you don't have a Switch, this is just like such an obvious buy to me if you're into these type of games. And looks awesome. You know, like it probably won't get the right reception, unfortunately, on PC. But, you know, it's a freaking awesome game. I still feel like the game's a bit underrated. Like, I know that Monster Hunter World hit everyone really, really hard. I was kind of surprised that this game didn't, like, sell a little bit better. It sold really well, but, you know, I could have seen it really sell even better than it did. Maybe it's a pandemic thing a little bit, just because this is a kind of cool game to play with friends, like in person and sort of online as well. So you couldn't do a lot of that stuff, obviously, with the pandemic. So yeah, no, big fan, big thumbs up from me. And again, Thank you Capcom for the code. And then we'll be going to our final review, Swinny.
The main events. This is what we all waited
Monster
for.
Hunter
this
Rise
whole
is
show.
the main event.
The main event is the latest Kemco RPG, which we talked about how to pronounce this prior to the show. It is spelt. I'm reading
don't
it as
spell it out. Just say it. Just say
I'm
it.
reading it
Don't
as
caveat.
sort of Elpisia is how I believe.
I believe you said Elpisia.
I said Elpisia first. I believe it's probably sort of Elpisia, not sort of Elpisia, which when you go to read it, and every time I go to write it, I write it as Elpisia. But anyway, sort of Elpisia. So we ranked 36 of the Kemco games last week, which I don't blame anyone for seeing that show up in their feed and going, nope.
Yeah, I think we lost like 30 subs from that. So, but that's all
totally. So this was the game that came out a couple of days prior to that. I've now since played it. So we will at the end add that to the big tier list. So this is made by EXE Create, the prolific developer of most of Kemco games. I'm playing it on Xbox. It's also on PC, but it will likely release on PlayStation, Switch, I'd say in a couple of months. But at the moment, it's only on Xbox and PC. And no, the game does not begin by panning across the overworld like the vast majority of the EXE Create games in our footage for the tier list last week. So what I'm going to do is I talked about the difficulty during the tier list of trying to review an EXE Create game because so much of what I want to talk about is assuming that people know the basics. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of split this up into two sections, like a general overview of the game that's more suited to people that have no idea what the game is. And then sort of the new stuff that people that are fans of these kind of games are probably looking to hear of what's different about this one. So sort of Elpisia is, if you haven't guessed by now, is a turn-based RPG. It's very story-heavy, lots of dialogue. You have 3 party members, although there are actually 4 main characters. Normally there's 4 party members, and that's because one of your characters turns into a sword. So technically they're in the battle, but it's basically she turns into a sword, so there's only 3 characters. And that's actually a huge part of the storyline, and honestly, I'll get to the story in a second. The battle system is fairly standard JRPG stuff, but includes lots of quality of life features. So this is not unique to this game, but it's just for people that are not aware of what these games are. So A lot of these games are like auto battle, 3 times speed, repeat action kind of stuff. They're games that you play through in that kind of way, just because that's the fun way to play these games. Honestly, they're not slow games in any way. You auto win weak battles, kind of like Earthbound, which
I like that feature in Earthbound.
So that's featuring all these games as well. So basically, you enter the battle, bang, you win if you're over leveled, so you don't have to go through that. And it makes progression a breeze. And when you enter a new area, a lot of these games, including this one, have what's called, I call it like a beacon, but in this game they actually name it as an attraction tube. And it's like this thing that you basically go to at the start of the area. You can set the encounter rate. You can set it to half, but then you can fight a whole bunch of battles in a row. So you can go, okay, I'm going to grind out everything. I talked about this last week, but obviously
is this like every tile you move, you'll encounter something?
No, well, that's a specific item that you can usually find, which is in this game as well. But the game is incredibly formulaic. You know, generally you'll go to a town, it'll say, hey, you need to go to this area, you go there, complete it, go back to the town, move on to the next town. It's very tropey and everything like that. But sometimes that's what you want these games for. You want that classic structure and formula. In addition to the main quest, there are lots of side quests and missions. And missions are generally things that will refresh daily, so that you get cool rewards that allow you to unlock stuff in the in-game shop and stuff like that. There's a reward system that, if you've opened 100 chests or killed 200 enemies, you unlock like the different tiles on the board, kind of like Smash Brothers, where you complete stuff and then you move on to another board and stuff. There's like a weapon and armor synthesis system. Again, like not unique. This is in most of their games, but basically allows you pick up a whole amount of junk. You go, okay, I want to strengthen my main weapon. Bulk select all the junk, and it adds to the stats of your main weapon and carries across abilities and stuff. And in terms of the story, this is actually one of the best EXE Create stories that they've done, I think. It gets a little carried away, but it's actually a really, really fun story. The characters are really cool in this one. Like, I was shocked. I was expecting almost like another run-of-the-mill, like your Wizards of Brandel or Sea Carts or Liege Dragon. We talked about last week. They're all kind of like low-tier Kemco games. But there's really
quite a lot of those.
Yeah, but really funny interactions, and that's why I actually enjoy these games for. As much as obviously I do play them for achievements, and I like just sitting down and relaxing. They often have really funny reactions, and there's a lot of also heartfelt moments. And that the mileage on that is going to vary between people, how much they enjoy that.
Yeah,
but it's actually really cool. And graphically, this is the last thing I'll say before I get to like the Kemco fan related stuff. Like Chroma Cortonian, one of them, also the newer Kemco games, EXE Create games, this year has much more of a pixelized 16-bit look. And so it doesn't have that weird, like, cookie cutter, almost crisp look of a lot of the other games. So it actually looks quite nice. And even the sprites have angled animations. So, 8-way animation, like normally a lot of these Kemco games, you'll just move like up, down, left, right, and that's your character sprites. Your characters can go on an angle, and so in the conversations, there's lots of conversations in this game. Your characters will be standing on an angle towards each other, so it actually looks better. I think they're actually taking inspiration, or they're maybe feeling a bit by Hit Point, the other Kemco developer that does a lot better sprite work, and their games generally look a lot better.
Even on the SNES, like it wasn't all 8-way. Like a lot of them were 4-way.
No, yeah. So it looks really cool. But I'll just now
I'm now getting nervous for all these EXE Create. I find it funny how much I know about this since doing the tier list now. But I do feel nervous for these EXE Create games. Could this be the top tier of the? This is a secondary tier list, actually, isn't it?
The EXE Create tier. I'll get to that in a sec. I just want to talk about what, for anyone that's checking this out that knows Kemco games, I just want to talk about what's different, because there's actually a lot in this game. So in battles, you can actually equip 3 different weapons. Normally it's just like one weapon. You can actually equip 3 different weapons, and it ties into, there's a storyline reason for it, and each of them have their own skills. So it's very different from other games that I've played by them. There's a pet system, like partner animals. Now, they've kind of dabbled in this stuff with some of the other games they released on Xbox, but it's quite tied into battles, but I honestly didn't use it that much. But The biggest change, and I was kind of really taken aback by this. So in the tier list video, I criticized that these games just have dungeons that are just mazes. You just walk around. There's not much interactivity. You might hit switches or grab keys and everything.
Yeah.
They actually tried in this one. They actually tried.
Oh, whoa,
There are
whoa.
like tools and items called search tools or search items that basically, as you walk around, you unlock them through progression, where you might unlock a lamp or a bomb, and you actually like explore the area using these items in the environment and doing
Whoa.
things. I'm like, whoa, what is Xerocrate doing?
It's
Are
like
they
proper
taking?
games.
It is actually like a game. So they put so much more effort into this, and there's, in terms of, I guess, like, it just makes things more enjoyable to explore and everything. But the quality of life, this is probably what some people are wanting to hear. They added some really cool stuff in. So normally the way that these games work is you'll have side quests that pop up in towns, and you have to, at some point, the side quests will only be available after certain story events. So you constantly go around to different events trying to find towns, trying to find where these side quests are. Now they actually flat out tell you where they are on like the list of locations. So the quality of life is so good.
Like
You
a
can
marker, a way marker or something.
Yeah, so you have a list of locations you can fast warp to from the overworld, and it will say, this has got a quest, go there. So it's really, really good, especially for people that love just, grinding through and playing through quickly. And you can warp straight to the quest givers, and it's honestly just they put these little touches of what make the difference between these games, and they put a lot into this one. Like, though I talked about the search tools, they actually list on the locations what areas have those areas you can go back to, almost like a Metroidvania. Like, I got that in a later area, I need to go back to early areas to get items, because now I have the ability to throw a rope to climb up that cave or something. But yeah, look, overall, cool story, fun characters, but I guess it's time. Let's bring up the tier list and see where
let's do
Sword of Elpisia ranks against our other Kemco games. So for anybody that missed it, this is the Kemco tier list from last week. It took us 2 hours to come up with. It was hell, but it was fun hell.
So do you want to put a link to that video? Maybe we can even do...
I've already done it.
Oh, okay. Maybe we can
Already
do
done.
the timestamps on this specific video on YouTube when we publish it.
So EXE Create games are coloured in green in this tier list. So you can see the quality difference between the other two developers, which is Hitpoint in blue and Ridian in orange. This is easily one of the best EXE Create games.
Before
I've
you
played.
ruin it, could this be the first A tier? Could this be the first A tier?
Well, it has amazing quality of life. It has improvements to dungeon design. I mentioned they actually put effort in. They actually tried. Sword of Elpisia is an A tier
A tier.
game.
Whoa. Is it top of the A tier?
It's not top of the A tier. That joke is left last week, please. I reckon this is the best EXE Create game I've played.
Wow.
Maybe not everyone's going to agree. It's one of the games, like, as I said, I love the story, love the characters. They tried. This is going... Oh, I should actually control this.
Yeah, you can control this.
I forgot I need to do this. I'm going to chuck it in. It's going to go at the end of the A.
The end of
right
the
there.
A. That's good.
So, Sort of Elpisia,
Nice.
I really recommend it. I especially for Kemco fans, I think it's going to surprise them. So
Big thumbs up. Wow, look at that. That's I'm impressed. We've finally got an EXE Create game in the A tier.
we do, and the next game comes out on the 20th,
Far out.
20th of January. It's a double drop this month. 2 Kemco games.
Double
And
Ds.
this is the RP Golf Legends, the game. So
The worst name.
different developer completely. The developer's called ArcticNet. So I have no idea what to expect from this.
New color. New color. We need now.
Yes, we will need a 4th color. And guess what? The next Kemco game after that comes out 2 weeks later on the 4th of January from EXE Create.
4th of January, did you say?
Sorry, February. And guess what?
is it?
It's EXE Create, but
Oh, okay.
I said it, but you missed it. It is 3D, so I'm very worried.
So we can have
Because-
another F tier game.
Because the lowest game on the F tier is also their only other 3D game. So that game's called That game's called Ambition Records, so I hope they've got their ambition in check.
Oh, very good, very well done. All right, so I'm fearing what we've done, what we've started here, the fact that we've added to this tier list.
It's good. Look, this is going to come up at least once a month, and so it's just going to happen to be it's a double drop this month.
I might need to like take a screenshot of this so then you can link to it on other platforms. Host it on bigwigpog.com/tier list or something like that. Okay, very good, Swinny. Good to see. Good to see the official
Are you sick
Kemco
of hearing?
RPG tier list is live.
Are you sick of hearing the words A Kemco and B EXE Create yet?
No. I'm very unfamiliar with the whole thing, so it's been fine. I'm glad to see, you know, an EXE Create. They've had so many opportunities to have A and S tier games. So.
I wonder, you might be the most knowledgeable person in the world about Kemco that's never played a Kemco game.
Oh,
now. I think you might hold that title.
I disagree. And you know who would be? The poor slobs who work on these games who don't play them. You know what I mean? Like someone in the marketing department or something like that.
Okay, all right.
That's a good answer, right? That's a good answer. No, you have to admit that's a good answer.
Yeah, that's a cheap way.
Okay, so someone who's not paid to make these games, not involved in getting paid to make these games, I am certainly the preeminent worldwide legend status expert. Connoisseur of Kemco RPGs. Although I think if you did ask me name the names of the games, I'd be like struggling.
Oh.
I'd try to guess a bunch of As Divine ones. As Divine Hearts, As Divine this, As Divine Wind, or I can't even remember what they were actually called.
You need to go back to watch the whole 2-hour tier list again.
I'll do that. Yeah, that's gonna happen for sure. For sure.
Support our channel.
Yeah, I will. All right, well that rounds us out for the show. Next week, what are we doing next week? Well, who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows if Mike's going to be alive? We hope you will be.
Fucking hell, mate. Jesus. Who knows if Mike's on the show because he's feeling better? That's what
he'll
we
be
say.
Feeling better. He'll be feeling better.
I started playing Kingdom Amalur Fatesworn a little early today, so I'll probably, I don't know. I'll see if I feel it's worthy of a review, as in like...
Oh, you should. You should.
Whether or not
Let's pencil it in.
I'll pencil it in. Pencil it in. Top of the pencil tier.
Oh god, that doesn't even make sense. It's also very awkward. DKC2. What does our schedule say? What games are coming out? I'm glad that Kirby's coming out. Like I'm definitely going to be playing that in March. And Triangle Strategy. Shit.
RP Golf Legends coming out on the 20th. Hey, I might review that. It might end up being a great game. I don't know.
Mike, oh shit, Mike has to make it to next week's show because this is episode 68.
Well, we'll see. We penciled potentially special for episode 69.
Yeah, we've got a big special reveal.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how we go.
Channel.
It'll get us banned.
Imagine that. That'd be awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of good games coming out this quarter, and it does seem like a lot of companies are taking Nintendo strategy, which is like, unless the game's almost finished, don't even announce it, and then don't tell a date until it's like a month or two away from going gold. Like Kirby, we didn't know anything about Kirby until late last year, and now they're like, oh, it's coming out March. It's like, what? Okay. And it seems like a crazy big, for that standard of game, crazy big game. So, yeah, no, I think it's going to be a pretty interesting year. Elden Ring's coming out soon. Super pumped about that, man.
Ambition Record.
And I might take some time off around Australia Day, so I'm sure I can squeeze in some more games then. All right, well, that rounds us out for the show, right? Bye-bye.
Catch you later.